So we have these two endpoints, right? And we've been mapping them to basically any URL we want, right? We have been arbitrarily selecting the syntax of these URLs, right? So it's not really following any RESTful syntax like we presented earlier. But they only really mean anything when you start considering relationships between different classes, right? Like for instance, in this case, we have movie that contains several reviews. So there may be a one-to-many relationship between a movie having several reviews written for that movie. So let's explore that now. Let's create some data here. Let's see. I think I have a couple of things here. So yeah. So let's create this movie here, and perhaps we can do that in the constructor. Let's declare a global movie object here. Null. And then in public static void main, here we have string the art. Actually, no, I don't want to do it here. I want to do it in the constructor. Let's do it in the constructor. So this is public and then movie web service. When this gets instantiated, I like to be able to create that movie. All right, so let's create Titanic. There it is. And let's create a couple of reviews. Let's instantiate these reviews right here. Let me bring the array list. And let's create a couple of reviews from Rotten Tomatoes. Is Titanic still the #1 grossing? No, I think Avatar beat it, right? Yeah. So reviews needs I think this was a title. What do we have for constructors for the review? We have just title and just title. So let's add another one that takes title and review. So this would be this dot review equal review. There we go. Okay, so we have a movie that we've created. Okay, so here instead of returning aliens, right, let's return Titanic. That's JSON. So this is Titanic and Titanic. All right, so once that rebuilds and redeploys, if we go back and retrieve the movie as XML, notice that it encodes it in such a way that you have all the reviews, right, embedded inside of the movie, right, in XML. Notice the difference on how it would be encoded if you asked for JSON instead. In JSON, it also uses the name of the variable, right, of the bean attribute reviews, right, as a parent of an array of JSON objects. But notice that you lose the wrapper for movie, right? And whereas in JSON, notice that it's inside of an array, right? An outer array, and it's entirely separate from the titles. Notice that each one of the instances of the JSON objects are separate from the instance of the title. Whereas in XML, notice that the reviews objects, right, are siblings to the title. See that? They're a little bit different on how they're encoded, right? But they are equivalent. Okay. All right. So that allows us to retrieve data just like OMDB would do, right? In our particular case, we would go out to our own database, right, with our own data. Or typically, what we probably would want to do is that OMDB doesn't provide, for instance, reviews, right? It just provides information about movies. So perhaps we could do a mesh, right, where we go get the metadata about a particular movie from OMDB, but we would then mesh it together with some data that we might have in our own database, right, where our community of our own application would provide these reviews locally, right, in our own database, but then all the meta information about the director and that's all the same, right? We can't edit that. That's a unique identifying information about that one movie, and we can't edit that. We can edit, for instance, our own particular data, such as reviews in our own community, And so we can mesh together, perhaps using IMDb as the key, right? Both to the remote server, to OMDB, but also as a primary key to our own local database for our own reviews, right? And then we can merge and mesh the two data together, right? Okay, so here's an example. So next, let's look at parsing parameters. So for instance, where you might want to be able to, again, have a RESTful API, right, and retrieve maybe just the movies or the reviews for a particular movie, and you would have to provide the ID of that particular movie. So let's do that next.